Yahoo Sports Fantasy Football Live is presented by Ram Trucks and by E-Trade from Morgan Stanley.
Welcome to Fantasy Football Live, the very special Week 6 edition. We're about to be 1/3 of the way through the NFL regular season and at the halfway point of many fantasy regular seasons, so this is no time to relax. I'm Andy Behrens, coming to you from the glorious Midwest. I am joined, per the usual protocol, by reception snob Matt Harmon, along with NFL veteran and DFS master Tank Williams. For the next hour, we will help you settle your most challenging lineup decisions. If you dug a hole for yourself by starting any Bears or Commanders on Thursday, we're going to do all that we can to help you get this week's win. Guys, Week 6. We're going to chat Chiefs-Bills here in a moment. That's the biggest and probably most exciting game on the schedule. But what else are you guys hoping to see this week? Matt, we'll start with you.
Yeah, for me, I've got my eye on T. Higgins this week. I've been getting a lot of questions about him, even from yourself, glorious Midwesterner Andy Behrens. Like, what to do with T. Higgins? It's really difficult because he's going to play. How much is he going to play? Are we going to get a mid-game aggravation? You know, that type of stuff. Like, it's really difficult at this point. You know, if you have a clear-cut better option, you know, like you drafted a team. I know this is on one of my teams. Like, I've got T. Higgins, and then I've got Christian Kirk. Like later on, I'm definitely putting a guy like Christian Kirk in ahead of T. Higgins because we feel really good about him. But, you know, once you start to get into that, like Brandon Ayuk, Romeo Doubs, like DJ Moore sort of grouping, do I really feel better about those players ahead of T. Higgins? I have no idea. So we have a lot of questions about the Bengals overall. They need to fix their passing game generally. Having one of their best players like hobbled or potentially at risk of a mid-game aggravation is certainly not a good way to get it going here.
Yeah, that's a great call. T. Higgins, one of the most difficult rankings challenges of the week. I was a coward in my ranks. I've got him outside the top 40. I can't see another week where he's another curious onlooker. Like, we can't stand that. Tank, tell me what you're keeping an eye on this week.
Well, I think that obviously since you mentioned Kansas City and Buffalo, I have to talk about another game that everyone's looking forward to watching, and that's Jacksonville at Indianapolis. I feel like both of these teams have been bumping uglies for the past I don't know how many weeks, and so I'm like, man, can we at least get a good game from these guys? Like, at the beginning of the season, the way that my man Christian Kirk and Trevor Lawrence started off, I felt like we were going to have so much fantasy goodness between those two, and then there was nothing to be seen from Christian Kirk last week. I wonder if he's going to be able to bounce back. No Jonathan Taylor, no Nyheim Hines. Everyone's probably jumping on Deion Jackson, trying to see if maybe he can get some points behind that Indianapolis offensive line. This is a game where I'm hoping it's not another Thursday night type atmosphere and scoring capabilities, but it just looks so ugly. I'm just praying for something from this game.
Yeah, we can use a little bit more than 3 targets for Christian Kirk, which is what he had last week. Can't do that again. For me, the game that I'm most interested in after that Buffalo-Kansas City game, it's got to be Seattle and Arizona. This is so much fun. Gino Smith, right now, one of the best stories in the NFL, leads the league in both completion percentage and in passer rating. I don't know if he's going to turn back into a pumpkin. He's got great receivers, but he's been spectacular so far. He hasn't been lucky. He's been incredible. Love everything that we've seen from Geno Smith. We also get Ken Walker this week. That's going to be fun. We'll see what that looks like. And then on the Arizona side, if Kyler Murray can't really get cooking against this Seattle defense, which is about as bad as it gets in the NFL, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. Okay, we're gonna discuss other nonsense later in the show, but right now we need to begin with a look at late-breaking injury information. That's what you come here for. Chris Olave, let's start there. He will not suit up for the Saints against Cincinnati after sustaining a concussion last week. He did practice Friday, but New Orleans is going to play it safe with Olave. Also missing from that matchup is every other relevant fantasy receiver. No Michael Thomas, no Jarvis Landry. And then also in that game, of course, as Matt mentioned, T. Higgins is active after the Bengals staff looked at him during warmups. Let's hope he actually sees the field this week. The Colts rolled out Jonathan Taylor yesterday for their matchup with Jacksonville. He and Nyheim Hines will both be out, so Deion Jackson, who looked pretty frisky a week ago, and Phillip Lindsay will split the backfield duties for the Colts. The Patriots, Damian Harris, inactive today with a hamstring injury, so it is definitely Ramondre Stevenson season. And Mac Jones also not ready to return. So we get another week of Bailey Zappi under center for the Patriots. Kyle Pitts, remember him? I remember Kyle Pitts. He's active after being a game-time decision against the Niners. He missed week 5 with a hamstring injury. Maybe you didn't even notice. Be warned, though, San Francisco is allowing just 23 yards per game to tight ends so far on the season. All right, as promised, we are, of course, talking Buffalo and Kansas City. Let's get things started. It is the rematch that we have all wanted since January, when the Bills and Chiefs last met. We have a fantasy feast on our hands. It's Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, Stephon Diggs and Travis Kelce. The total in this game is like 54.5, which is ridiculous. The Bills, actually, a slight road favorite. Of course, the last meeting between these teams was literally one of the most entertaining games in NFL history, if not the most entertaining. It had 78 points. It had 974 total yards. Tank, I'll start with you. It can't possibly get that good again, can it? And what are you watching closest in this game?
Oh man, yeah, it could definitely get that good again. I think we've seen all like the little signs trending that way. I think when you look at the Buffalo Bills offense last week, we've been waiting for Gabe Davis to get healthy. Well, oh, my boy is healthy right now. Like that ankle's finally healed up. He was able to go over the top of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense on several occasions. And the reason why that stands out to me is we saw Derek Carr and Devonte Adams do the same thing against that Kansas City Chiefs defense on Monday night. So that means, hey, if they can do it, Buffalo can definitely do it. We already know what Josh Allen can do with Stephon Diggs, but then when you flip it to Kansas City, you think about that offense without Tyreek Hill. Well, obviously they can still get it going with Travis Kelce as well. But I think the most interesting thing is going to be, what do you do with those Kansas City wide receivers? You have MVS, you have Mecole Hardman, you have Juju. I think you throw all those guys in there, especially if you need some upside in your lineup. You're never sure which one is going to eat, but definitely in this kind of matchup, this kind of environment, one of them is.
Matt, Tank mentioned Gabe Davis. He delivered just an absolute supernova performance the last time he saw Kansas City. 4 touchdowns, 200 yards. It kind of did the same thing last week against Pittsburgh. What do we expect from Davis? How high are you on him this week? And what are you most interested in this game?
Yeah, I have him as a clear-cut top 20 receiver this week. I think I'm going to have him as a clear-cut top 20 receiver pretty much the rest of the way. That is Gabe Davis. I mean, look, you know there's going to be some lows. Those lows are going to happen, but you're just going to have to live with it. Think of him as like a Mike Williams type of player, right? Like Mike Williams has given you a couple of 2-catch, 1-catch games this year. You know, Gabe Davis had those lower box scores when he's not been healthy. I think when he's healthy, he has the potential to give you like a 2-catch game, but you also saw last week like the potential that he can give you as well. So I have no idea how you ever put that back on your bench. You know, I think it's also interesting just to keep an eye on a variety of like the fringe receivers in this game. I'm glad you know, Tank brought up Juju, right? Like you look at Juju's box score, 8 targets, 3 targets, 8 targets, 8 targets, 8 targets. Like it doesn't feel like it's gone that way, but it has kind of gone that way. And this is something I've always talked about with Juju. He's a exclusive zone coverage beating receiver. He doesn't beat man coverage. You know, Andy, we talked a lot about Juju in the preseason as a guy that we wanted to draft. I was on that train too, but Patrick Mahomes has faced the most dropbacks against man coverage among any quarterbacks this year. So there's no wonder Juju is struggling, but the Bills play a lot of zone coverage, that cover 2 look. So if you're going to use Juju, if he's ever going to get it going, this might be the week to do it.
Yeah, I was going to mention the Kansas City receivers myself, and listen, I'm going to get a zillion things wrong this year. It's possible that I'm going to be most wrong about Juju because I was very high on him coming into the season. One of, I think, the most amazing stats about the Chiefs offense generally this year, Patrick Mahomes currently leads the NFL in touchdown passes. He has not thrown a touchdown pass to either of his top 2 wide receivers. Juju and MVS have drawn the most targets. No touchdowns, none. Juju is still stuck in this low ADOT situation, right? It's about 6 yards per target on the season. At least MVS is getting targeted downfield. I might feel actually better about MVS rest of season, if not this week. But that is really just sort of damning with faint praise because none of those Chiefs receivers have done a thing. It's been entirely the Kelce show. So obviously we're going to bring up this game throughout the show. As always, there are plenty of ways to reach us this morning. You can send us your questions on Twitter using the hashtag AskFFL or toss a question in the chat. And of course, we will answer as many of those as we can. Plus, per the usual, our own Scott Pianowski, he's answering questions all morning long, live on Twitter. Okay, let's keep things rolling in daily fantasy with Tank and Baller on a budget.
Oh, coming off the top rope in the first block of the show. What it do?
First block.
Baby! It's your boy T-Money with my week 6. Ballers on a budget. Now first, we starting off with my man Gino Smith versus the Arizona Cardinals. He's $28. Hopefully Gino still ain't writing back because my boy has been on fire since he's taken over for the Seattle Seahawks. I really like this matchup. Arizona's defense is giving up the 8th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. And I feel like this is a matchup, as my man Rev was talking about before, like, if this isn't a game where Kyler Murray can get off, I don't know what it is. I'm expecting a shootout in this environment. So go ahead and get some of Gino's cooking while it's still hot, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be that way in the Pacific Northwest this week. But also keep in mind, Tom Brady is also $28 going against that Pittsburgh defense. You may want to take a look at him too. Now at running back, I'm going with Dalvin Cook at Miami, $22. Now, I know what you're saying. You have Eno Benjamin, you have Daryl Henderson, you have Kenneth Walker, you got Deontay Johnson, you have all these really cheap running backs. But listen to this, man. My man Dalvin Cook had 18 carries, 94 yards, 2 tubs last week. Now he's going home to Miami. He played at Florida State, and this dude is only $22. If that ain't a ball on the budget, I don't know what the hell is. So make sure you get my man Dalvin Cook in your lineup immediately. Now at wide receiver, I'm going back to the Pacific Northwest. Marquis Brown, $24 going up against Seattle. We already talked about it. Feel like this could be a potential shootout. And Jamar Chase is $30. Like, Jamar Chase has been putting up the kind of numbers Marquis Brown has this year since 2021, and he's still $30. DK Metcalf is $28. He's been balling, muscling folks, but yet and still, he hasn't been as shiny as my man Marquis Brown, who's averaging about 19 fantasy points. And what it is, it's about 12 targets per game. And so when I look at that from that standpoint, the matchup isn't the greatest, but when you think of the potential game script, I feel like this can be almost a re-energizing type of effect. We could end up seeing the Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown of the OU days, and that could be something special. Now at tight end, I'm going with Zach Gentry. He's $10. He's in Tampa Bay, and this is basically a punt for me, but it's a punt with some upside because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they give up the 6th most fantasy points to fantasy tight ends. Pat Freiermuth is out. We've seen that Kenny Pickett can be competent throwing the ball around with Pickens and Deontay Johnson, all those other guys. He's going to get some of those targets there or all over the field, so I feel really good about this one. At least maybe hopefully giving you value at that $10. And so that's all I got. If you put him in your lineup, that'll allow you to squeeze in some guys like Lamar, Josh Allen, and all these other studs that are playing in some of these high-scoring affairs. So remember, the T is for the money, and the money is something that you will not have in your lineups and your wallets if you do not get these guys in immediately. That being said, you can still get in on the action in Daily Fantasy this morning on Yahoo. I bet 250,000 baller contest is open, and you can win cash prizes. First place takes home $50,000. Visit the Daily Fantasy Football lobby and join in on the fun.
Oh, that's a good reminder for me to get Zach Gentry a little bit up in the ranks. It is time to turn to the flex position and our Built to Serve picks, brought to you by Ram Trucks. They're redefining what a truck can be and do every day with plenty of power, capability, and durability. Each week, we're picking players that align with these quality traits that can lead your fantasy lineup into a winning position. I'm going to start us off with a player who is the very definition of capability, and that is Patriots wide receiver Jacoby Myers, who has been nothing but fantastic every time he plays this season. He's in the lineup this week. He's active, nothing to worry about there. He's seeing 9 targets a game. For a slot receiver, he's also seeing over 100 air yards per week, which is awesome. He has just been completely reliable. Again, at this kind of volume, he's emerged as entirely quarterback proof. It doesn't matter who's back there, whether it's Zappy, whether it's Mac Jones. He's having big weeks every week. He is the one Patriots receiver that you can fully trust, and I expect him again this week to go over 80 yards. Good shot at a touchdown in this one. He is as capable as it gets. Okay, Matt, talk to me about durability.
Yeah, shout out to you for getting in the dock first and claiming my guy, Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, I did.
That's fine. I'll go with another guy here. The definition of durable, Andy, is able to withstand wear, pressure, or damage, hard wearing. I think Alec Pierce has been able to stand up to the pressure and the damage of man coverage in the NFL so far. Alec Pierce is my durability pick this week. Like I said, he's been beating man coverage at a pretty decent rate. And honestly, Andy, it's kind of the same way that he did it in college. He's running a lot of slants. He's running a lot of go routes. That's pretty much it, but he's crushing on those two individual routes. And, you know, as much as we know that Matt Ryan is not a great deep ball thrower at this point, Alec Pierce has been a monster. You see it on the screen here. In those contested situations, he's been able to pluck the ball away from high-quality defenders on the outside there. And we saw his participation from a route standpoint kind of jump in the last game against the Denver Broncos, 75% routes per team dropback. If you are hurting at wide receiver, if you need someone to fill in on the bye weeks, I really like Alec Pierce as a guy. Like, it's enough already with Paris Campbell. Let's see more of Alec Pierce in the Colts offense.
All right, my power play this week, it's going to be Daryl Henderson of the Rams. He's in a great spot. No Cam Akers this week, perhaps no Cam Akers moving forward for the Rams. Henderson, we've seen it before, right? Like when he gets an extended look, when he gets a full workload, that's 80-plus yards, usually a touchdown. This week's matchup is tremendous. Now, I know the Rams' offensive line hasn't been anything special, but this week it's the Carolina Panthers. They give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. They give up almost 140 rushing yards per week. They rank number 27 overall against the run. There is simply no way that Daryl Henderson isn't going to have a day here. And again, touches are not an issue. He's probably going to see the ball 18, 20 times in this one. And historically, that has always worked out for Daryl Henderson. He's a strong play this week and moving forward. Get those guys in your rosters and be sure to check out the entire game-changing Ram lineup at ram.com.
You know, let's talk about our Bring the Props segment because, I mean, it's just been an absolute domination by your guy here, Matt Harmon, but I am curious to hear what the other guys have to say this week. You know, this is where we give you our prop of the week. We all go back and forth. We debate it. We show you that I'm the smartest and everybody else is, you know, reasonably decent here. Tank, why don't you get us started here on your prop of the week?
I'm going with Mike Evans over 68.5 receiving yards, minus 115. And to me, it's pretty simple. The Pittsburgh defense is giving up the 2nd most passing yards in the league. Evans has gone over in this number in every game except one, and that's New Orleans. And the only reason he didn't go over in this number in New Orleans is because he got up under Marshawn Lattimore chin. So this seems like to be a spot where Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are going to remind people who they are. This should be a smash spot for that passing game, so make sure you don't miss the layup. Are both of you guys willing to fade me?
I'm not, and I'll save some of my reasons here in a second, but I'm with you, Tank, on this one. I will take the over on Evans here, a guy I drafted everywhere in August, so I'd love to see a big game here from him.
I am definitely taking the over on Mike Evans. Generally, I don't want anything to do with unders. It's not really my brand, but this is a great matchup. This is a smash spot for him. I would take the over on both Mike Evans and, I don't know, I like Godwin to hit this yardage total too. This is just a great spot for Brady and all your Bucks.
Andy, you're correct. It is a great spot for all your Bucks, which is why I'm taking Chris Godwin over 5.5 catches here. I'm going to go catches, not yards. By the way, Chris Godwin only ran a route on 51.9% of his dropbacks last week. He still hit the over here. He had 6 catches on 6 targets. Like, I think Chris Godwin is fully getting ramped up at this point. This is the time when we're probably going to see him. Look, like they could save him against the Falcons, right? Okay, but this is a real game against the Steelers, even though they're not very good. But Tank mentioned all the stats. He did all the work for me. I'm just going to come in here and say, yeah, Chris Godwin over 5.5 catches. So Tank, you agree. Big day for Brady and all your Bucks, you said, so you must agree with me here on this total.
I mean, I feel like I can't catch up if I just keep agreeing with you, but like, yeah. I mean, how can I go against my own logic on this one? So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, see, that's how you play mind games, people at home. Andy, you said it, Chris Godwin yardage. How about the catches?
Yeah, I hate that you've given me one where I can't really differentiate myself. I gotta go over here as well. Chris Godwin is, I mean, first of all, he's tied to this game, which I think is going to be great. Like, again, all of your Bucks are in play in this one. I think Godwin has a big day. I think Evans has a big day. I'd love to be able to differentiate. I just can't do it here. I think this is a big spot for Godwin.
Damn it, I'm putting my chin on the line. I'm going under. Ram, go ahead and do yours, but I'm taking under. I don't care. I'm hating.
Oh, what a shame.
Look at Tank taking both sides. Okay.
Officially, hit us with yours.
I'm gonna stick in the same game, but I'm not gonna take a buck. Gonna differentiate myself in that way. I'm taking George Pickens over 46.5 receiving yards. This is pure disrespect. Why on earth is it 46.5? George Pickens has seen 8 targets in each of his last 2 games. He's got over 180 receiving yards in those games. He's been great. He's coming off his first 100-yard performance. We know that Pittsburgh isn't going to get anything done on the ground in this game. They're going to have to put the ball in the air. The other nice thing about Pickens, he's getting targeted downfield. His average depth of target on the season is over 15 yards. So this is something he might be able to do on like 1 or 2 catches, but I think it's going to be a much bigger day than that.
I'm with you.
I'll go ahead.
Andy.
Yeah, I'm with you too, just for the simple fact that I feel like they're going to be trying to play catch up pretty much this entire game. So, yeah, he's going to get a lot of garbage targets, yards, and everything else. So, yeah, I'm over.
Yeah, it's just not much to ask. And again, from a strategy perspective, if Tank's going to agree with you, and you're going to obviously agree with you, Andy, it makes no sense for me to disagree on something as light as 46.5. Speaking of which, speaking of strategy, speaking of big brains, let's look at the standings here. Entering week 6.
You had one good week. The rest of them is pretty much even. One good week.
Pretty much even. I didn't know pretty much
had one
how
bad
judging
moment.
Things. Yeah, and I exploited that. I exploited that bad moment, and that's why I'm sitting here in first place right now. I don't need to hear about pretty much. All I know is this is what it is.
How do I have 9 points? I am the Iowa Hawkeyes of bringing the props. This is terrible. We need to regroup. It is time for our first break on Fantasy Football Live. When we return, we chat with the unrivaled king of the hot takes. It's Dalton Del Don. Stick around.
You want your sports news in more than just a few characters? With the help of a bunch of different characters?
You play better than me, I respect this like you.
He beat us, yes. I'm not a ball player. Prince had hops.
Hosted by everyone's favorite character.
Only time will tell if that's a lie or a big-ass lie.
You're Calais Campbell's brother, so Calais got the most sacks that he has is on me.
Give us 2 minutes and we'll give you The Rush. Weekday mornings on Yahoo Sports.
Welcome to Mad Bets, everyone. I am Minty Beth alongside Jared Quay and Pam Maldonado. I'm Ariel Epstein.
We've got a big Sunday night football game.
It's time for some Monday night football. Jared, let's kick things off with you. What's your best bet this week?
Oh, I love my bet with 5-star confidence.
Ariel, you can call it a homer pick if you want. It's not.
By the way, that probably will be in Prop Queen coming up on Sunday.
I'm gonna be busting these babies out this weekend.
Woo! You did that with your winning bets, huh? You've been on fire. That's what you buying with your winnings?
Oh man, I love it.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football Live. It's time now for Fantasy Stock Watch, presented by E-Trade from Morgan Stanley, helping you invest with confidence. Let's take a look at who's trending and help you make some confident roster decisions. Tank, let's get us started with your stock up pick here.
Oh man, my man Eno Benjamin, his stock is definitely going up going against those Seattle Seahawks today. Trust me, sometimes it's not that hard. Like, Seattle's defense gives up the most rush yards in the league. No James Conner, no Daryl Williams. He had 8 carries, 25 yards against a stingy Philly D. Now he has one of the best matchups on the slate. So I feel like today is pretty simple. Like, his stock is going to continue to trend up as long as he's going to get the majority of the volume in really good matchups like that. So, hey, it's all about the Benjamins today. Eno Benjamin. Make sure you get him in that lineup.
Love that call, Tank. My stock up guy this week, it's Devonte Smith. And man, I have been praying at Wide Receiver Church for forgiveness for burying Devonte Smith in the rankings coming into this year, man, because this guy is a stone cold baller. I just didn't have enough faith in how concentrated the targets would be between the top 3 guys, and also, Jalen Hurts taking a step forward. I know this is a tough matchup for Devonte Smith this week, but I still think he is a top 24 receiver the rest of the way. Since week 2, Devonte Smith has 34% of the team air yards, 27.6% of the targets. In the same span, A.J. Brown has a 39.5% of the air yards, 26% share of the targets. I know it's silly to remove like one game just to make a point, but the point here is Devonte Smith, really, really good. A.J. Brown, also really, really good. Devonte Smith is absolutely trending up, and a guy I think you're starting the rest of the way. But that's enough positivity, Tank. Let's bring us a little negative here.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get some thoughts and prayers out for Chase Edmonds, the Miami Dolphins running back. Man, Raheem Mostert, like, he has the juice now. Like, it's pretty simple. Like, he's been, taking over all the volume in that backfield. Listen, Myles Gaskins played, and then, yes, I added an S to his name because it should have an S, even though it's Gaskin for real. It should be Gaskins. But Myles Gaskins had more snaps than Chase Edmonds last week. It looks like those Shanahanigans traveled on down to South Beach. So the only thing you can hope for at this point is that you get some kind of bear rally in the market. Chase Edmonds somehow gets a ton of carries and then sneaks in the touchdown where people may feel like he's still in it, and you sell him high, because other than that, his stock is plummeting by the week.
Yeah, that's a good call there. I think Chase Edmonds is getting on like the droppable range at this point. James Robinson, also a guy I think, if he has another big moment, I think it would be smart to sell him high because, the James Robinson story has been awesome. He was a late round pick for many people in fantasy. With Travis Etienne, his teammate, going ahead of him, I kind of think those roles might be starting to flip back to what we saw or what we expected to see this year. Travis Etienne's snaps have increased in 4 straight games. 37%, 43%, 51%, 53%. He's also been running really well right now. He's gained 5+ yards on 45.5% of his carries, has Travis Etienne. James Robinson, meanwhile, I'll just go ahead and tell you, kind of on the other end of that rushing spectrum from an efficiency standpoint. So I think we start to see more of Etienne, less of Robinson. Robinson's not going to fully go away because he's really good in pass protection and just a trusted player overall, but I do think that his role is going to start to decrease, whereas Etienne is going to start to increase. Appreciate you, Tank. Thanks so much. Remember, E-Trade offers innovative, easy-to-use digital platforms and services that allow you to take an active role in your finances. For more information or to get started, head to etrade.com.
All right, as promised, we are joined now by Dalton Del Don. He is, again, the unrivaled master of the hot take. He's one of the boldest rankers in the business, and this week we're going to be talking about some of the toughest rankings calls that we've had in all of week 6. Good morning, Dalton. I want to get started with Eno Benjamin. You heard Tank talk about him. It seems like a blow-up spot for him against Seattle. It's a fantastic matchup. No Connor, no Williams. Where are you at on him this week?
So originally we thought this was going to be a tough lineup decision, especially with the late afternoon start. But now with Daryl Williams and James Conner already ruled out, I rank Benjamin as a top 12 fantasy back this week. Cliff Kingsbury has historically given his backup running backs big workloads immediately. Eno has avoided a tackle at the 2nd highest rate in the NFL this season. He's also 2nd in success rate. He's even been targeted in a high percentage of his routes. Seattle has become an ideal fantasy matchup. On offense, they're getting the 2nd most yards per play. On defense, they're allowing the most yards per play, as well as the 5th most fantasy points to running backs. Cardinals are better on the road anyway, so this one was an easy call ultimately. You're starting Eno, and I'm ranking him as a RB1 this week.
Where are you at this week and really rest of season on Russell Wilson, who's been among the more staggering disappointments in all of fantasy? Gets the Chargers this week. He's coming off an icky game. He's coming off surgery. Is there any reason to even hold on to him? Are you bullish?
So his expert consensus rank is a QB 13 this week, but I'm much higher on him. I'm optimistic. Wilson is dealing with a shoulder injury, but assuming he's good to go after a PRP injection, I'm expecting a real nice bounce back performance Monday night. Yes, he's been a fantasy disappointment, but he's due for some touchdown regression. He ranks dead last in passer rating in the red zone and 7th otherwise. So it's just been horrible luck inside the 20. Wilson has gotten 8.6 YPA with 4 of his 5 touchdowns coming during just 2 road games this year. Wilson has the second best passer rating versus man since the start of last season. The Chargers have played the 5th most man coverage this season. Both Melvin Gordon and Mike Boone are banged up. So I say start Wilson with confidence Monday night.
Man, get yourself a hype man like Dalton Del Don. Amazing. I don't have the confidence to start Russell Wilson, but Dalton does. Let's talk about imposter tight end Taysom Hill. I don't even know what to call him. The team lists him as a tight end. He just went off for 34 fantasy points. He's pretty clearly not a real tight end. He doesn't actually run routes, and yet they give him the ball when they get in goal-to-go situations. Where are you at on Taysom in your tight end ranks?
Well, here's what I'm not going to hype. Hill's given me the most pushback of any player in my sit-start column for even suggesting sitting him, and I get it. Outside of Kelsey and Andrews, no tight end has more upside in a given week. Tight end is super thin. He's somehow the number 3 fantasy tight end this season with just 1 catch for 2 scoreless yards. Last week, his 31% snap share was a season high. It never even had they even reached 30% snap share. He scored 6 touchdowns on 22 opportunities. I'm talking 22 targets or carries, 6 touchdowns, and that's come with just 1 carry inside the 5. I mean, this is just crazy. But I get it. Fantasy managers do not want to sit him, but just realize he's averaging just 4.4 touches per game. He's the ECR tight end 7, and judging by the pushback, no one wants to sit this guy. Just realize his floor is the basement.
Yeah, tight ends are the worst. Let me get your thoughts on that Jaguars backfield. You heard Matt and Tank talk about it earlier. James Robinson was pretty clearly the right answer for the first 3 weeks of the season, had one of the runs of the year in opening week. Last week, however, it really shifted in a big way to Travis Etienne.
Yeah, Robinson is coming off back-to-back games with season lows and snap percentage, and today might be another favorable game script for Etienne. Robinson, it's a great story, but he's struggled coming off the torn Achilles, sporting the 3rd highest stuffed rate in the league. Indy's defense is down a couple of important guys, but this is still a poor matchup for Robinson, as the Colts have allowed just 3.3 yards per carry to running backs. Meanwhile, Indy has allowed the 3rd most receiving yards to running backs, and Etienne just ran the most routes of his career last week. Robinson is more likely to get a goal line score, but I personally didn't hesitate ranking Etienne higher this week, and I'm starting the rookie with confidence.
Okay, I'm taking that goal line score. I'm going to hold you to that. Appreciate you, Dalton. Thanks for joining us. Follow him on Twitter. He's at Dalton Del Don. He's an absolute treasure. Folks, if you are tired of finishing in the middle of the pack, start winning with Yahoo Fantasy Plus and get the edge you need to dominate your league. Get access to exclusive tools like Research Assistant, Trade Hub, expert rankings, and more. Start your free 7-day trial today.
It's time for Fantasy Face-Off. This is where we take one of the biggest, the hottest names, the big waiver claim, whatever it is. You know, I know Kenneth Walker wasn't a waiver claim in every league. I don't care. Don't need to hear about that. Kenneth Walker's a hot name. We're going to take him. We're going to put him against some similarly ranked players. Tank, let's start it off with Kenneth Walker versus Melvin Gordon. Which way are you going here?
Oh, that's interesting. Melvin Gordon, they're going against the Chargers' run defense this week, and that defense is poop emoji. But that Denver offense is broken until it's fixed. I mean, I heard what Dalton was saying about Russell Wilson and all that, and that's true. I actually have to play Russell in one of my fantasy leagues, but I'm not trusting that offense until I have to. Kenneth Walker's going to get a bunch of volume without Rashad Penny right now, so I'm going to pass on Uncle Melvin this week and go with my man K-Dub 3.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on this. Good matchup for Walker, injury opportunity. I know Melvin Gordon has some injury opportunity, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get all of the carries there in Denver this week. Let's move to a guy who's been white hot off the waiver wire. That's Jeff Wilson for the San Francisco 49ers. Would you take him over Kenneth Walker this week in a good spot against Atlanta?
Like 21 Jump Street. My name is Jeff. I'm definitely going with Jeff Wilson. Like, this is a smash spot for him against the Atlanta defense. I mean, they give up like the 11 most fantasy points to running backs, and I feel like a run-heavy offense where you always can count on the head coach to try to limit Jimmy G's mistakes, they're going to make sure Jeff and whatever other running back he wants to roll up in there gets hefty carries in this one. So I really like this as a smash spot for Jeff. So, yeah, give me Jeff over K-Dub 3.
I think I'm with you with Jeff Wilson over Kenneth Walker, although I got a little nervous with how good Tevin Coleman looked last week for the 49ers. Like, what was that? Tevin Coleman popping in like it's
and now Terry Davis Price is coming back now too, so
yeah, gotta be a little bit nervous, but I think I'm still going with Jeff Wilson over Kenneth Walker there. Last one here, man, and this might be shocking. If you drafted Najee Harris in fantasy this year in the first round, go ahead and click out of the browser. Come back here in like 3 minutes because you don't want to hear you don't want to hear this. You don't want to hear Tank down there telling you how much Najee Harris is behind Kenneth Walker in the rankings this week. The stone worst first round pick you probably could have made this year so far is Najee Harris, man. But Tank, would you play Kenneth Walker over Najee Harris?
Najee Harris. No to Najee Harris.
Oh, okay. All right.
No to Najee Harris. Najee Harris. Like, this dude has a bad foot, a bad matchup, and the start of his season has been bad. Like, I put it this way. If you look at their stats, like Jonathan Taylor, who has started off the year like pretty much awful compared to what people expected, and he's missed the game, still has better stats than Najee Harris. No. K-Dub 3 all the way.
I couldn't have said it any better myself, Tank, so I won't say anything else. Let's get to some social questions. Andy, what do we got here?
Well, you guys thought that we were done with Kenneth Walker questions. We are most certainly not. Our first question, in fact, at Ask FFL is from Rob, and he's asking, it's a half PPR league, Michael Pittman or Kenneth Walker in the flex spot. Tank, I'll send this to you.
Man, I'm going with K-Dub 3. This is kind of easy to me. I'm really not expecting a game script that's going to be appetizing in that Jacksonville-Indy game. It's probably going to be pretty ugly. And then Matty Ice has been playing pretty icy as of late, too. So, I mean, there's really no upside to me with Michael Pittman. But, K-Dub 3 got a lot of action coming in the Pacific Northwest this week. So make sure you plug that cat in your lineup immediately.
Yeah, that's a good call. Love Walker this week. And Matt Ryan has been such a tough watch. We got a receiver question here from Mike. I'm going to send this to Matt. It is Jalen Waddle or Amari Cooper in a PPR. Harmon, who are you going with?
Yeah, I know that Amari Cooper seems like the volume play here, but we know that he's also a volatile player, so therefore he is a volatile producer. Going against the Patriots defense has, been kind of whatever this year. Very low-scoring game, I think, they're in this matchup. So despite the fact that all that, Jalen Waddle playing with the third-string quarterback there in Skylar Thompson, I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle because he's got game-breaking ability. We've also seen that the Dolphins can adjust the offense for when they have a backup quarterback in there. Give me Jalen Waddle here over Amari Cooper. I know it's risky, but what's life if not having a little risks every now and again?
I just want to say for the record that I am starting Skylar Thompson in a couple leagues this week. I'm not proud. Yeah, I'm an expert. Thanks a lot. Our next question here, it's Sean C. And Sean C. is asking Breece Hall or Devonte Smith starting in the flex position today. My goodness. I just admitted to starting Skylar Thompson. This guy's deciding between Breece Hall and freaking Devonte Smith. I wish I had these problems. For me, this is going to be Breece Hall. You can't really go wrong. I think Devonte Smith's in a great spot as well. Tricky matchup against Dallas. But Breece Hall is really taken over in that Jets backfield, and they'll throw to him. They're not the most accurate passes. They're Zach Wilson passes, but they will throw to him. And it's Green Bay. Green Bay has been kind of a sneaky run funnel defense. So I think the matchup is great, and I think Breece Hall is going to keep it rolling. I think he's basically a top 12 fantasy running back rest of season. Okay, it is time for our next break here on Fantasy Football Live. Still ahead, Minty is in the sportsbook with her primetime props for Week 6. Don't go away.
You want your sports news in more than just a few characters? With the help of a bunch of different characters?
You play better than me, I respect this like you.
He beat us, yes. I'm not a ball player. Prince had hops.
Hosted by everyone's favorite character.
Only time will tell if that's a lie or a big-ass lie.
You're Calais Campbell's brother, so Calais got the most sacks that he has is on me.
Give us 2 minutes and we'll give you The Rush. Weekday mornings on Yahoo Sports.
No!
Welcome to Mad Bets, everyone. I am Minty Bets alongside Jared Quay and Pam Maldonado. I'm Ariel Epstein.
We've got a big Sunday night football game.
It's time for some Monday Night Football. Jared, let's kick things off with you. What's your best bet this week?
Oh, I love my bet with 5-star confidence.
Ariel, you can call it a homer pick if you want. It's not.
By the way, that probably will be in Prop Queen coming up on Sunday.
I'm gonna be busting these babies out this weekend.
Woo! You did that with your winning bets, huh? You've been on fire. That's what you buying with your winnings?
Oh man, I love it.
We are back here on Fantasy Football Live. In case you missed it, here are some injury updates for early games in Week 6. Chris Olave will not suit up for the Saints against Cincinnati after sustaining a concussion last week. He did practice Friday. New Orleans, however, going to keep it safe. Also missing from that matchup, Michael Thomas not playing. Jarvis Landry not playing. That means it's going to be kind of tough sledding for Andy Dalton. Also in that game, T. Higgins is active after the Bengals staff looked at him during warm-ups. He should be good to go. Hopefully he actually plays this week, unlike last week. The Colts ruled out Jonathan Taylor yesterday for their matchup with Jacksonville. He and Nyheim Hines will both be out, so Deion Jackson and Phillip Lindsay will split the backfield duties for Indy. The Patriots' Damian Harris is inactive today with a hamstring injury. Mac Jones also not ready to return with that ankle issue, so it's another week of Bailey Zappi under center for the Pats. Kyle Pitts is active after being a game-time decision against the Niners. He missed Week 5 with a hamstring injury. Be warned, though, San Francisco allowing just 23 yards per game to tight ends on the season. All right, it's time for a little quick believe or make believe. Tank, we're looking at the AFC West right here. Who are you believing in?
Man, honestly, I believe in Josh Jacobs. We probably wouldn't have thought about it before. We had him on like the Stock Talk last week, and we were talking about how people were worried about him playing so much in a Hall of Fame game. But now this dude wouldn't surprise me if he finished as a top 5 running back, like, period. Like, you don't want to buy rips before dips, but like, man, this dude is in the early stages of a Tesla-like run. Like, he had 144 yards and 2 tubs against the Denver defense that gives up the 24th most running back points to running backs. And then he followed it up with 154 yards in a tub versus KC. And when you look at the schedule the rest of the way, Texans, Jags, Colts, Broncos, Seahawks, Chargers, like, all those are magically delicious matchups. So, man, you got to go ahead and know how to change the narrative in your head. Josh Jacobs is that dude, and he's the dude that you should probably lean on for the rest of the fantasy boy.
Yeah, I love that call on Josh Jacobs. He's a missed tackle machine. He's great whenever he's healthy. I'm going to talk a little make-believe here, and it is going to be Clyde Edwards-Hilaire. He's a top 10 fantasy running back right now, which is pretty wild because he doesn't actually play that often. He only has one game in which he's played over 50% of the snaps. He's usually around 40%. It's not as if he's been inefficient. He's been fine. I got nothing really bad to say about Edwards-Hilaire. It's just that they have a legitimate rotation at running back. Jerick McKinnon often plays more than Clyde Edwards-Hilaire does. In fact, anytime they get into a hurry-up situation, anytime it's an obvious passing situation, it's a third down, they are leaning on Jerick McKinnon. The game really turned for the Chiefs last week when McKinnon came in, so I'm a little bit worried about CEH this week, especially against Buffalo. That's a defense that allows 3.5 yards per carry to opposing rushers. They're the number 2 run defense on the season. If CEH isn't scoring a touchdown for you, he simply can't help. And we have even more AFC West in prime time this week. Let's send it over to the Sportsbook for Minty's Week 6 props.
Yes, that's right. The Sportsbook, so comfortable, so wonderful to be here. Minty, welcome back to the show. It's great to see you. Let's do some of these primetime props. We got an awesome game with the Cowboys and the Eagles tonight. Can't wait to watch it. DeMarcus Lawrence providing some bulletin board material for Jalen Hurts, or maybe telling us a little bit of the truth. I don't know, Minty. You tell us how Jalen Hurts is going to do on primetime.
pass attempts. Now, Philly is 29th in pass play percentage. Dallas's defense is 3rd in yards per pass attempt. And I mean, the Eagles are the hottest team in the NFL right now, and they're going to do what they do best, and that is run the ball. I don't believe we'll see Jalen even break 30 pass attempts, so I'm going under this low number of 31.5.
Yeah, the good news for you fantasy freaks out there is even if Jalen Hurts doesn't throw the ball, he can still run the ball. He'll be fine. Don't worry about that. Let's talk about another player who might go a little south of their total. Minty, you're back on brand here for this Sunday night game.
Yes. It just so happened to be like this, all right? Tony Pollard, I'm going under 50.5 rushing and receiving yards. Now, the Eagles are 4th in total defense. I really do expect this to be like a slower game because it's a divisional game and it's a primetime game. And, you know, the primetime games have kind of been a little snooze fest. Pollard is extremely inconsistent this season. Plus, he's the number 2 guy behind Zeke. So that's why under is the only play for me for Tony Pollard.
That is disappointing because I have to play Tony Pollard because Jonathan Taylor's not going to play. So that hurts my feelings, but that's fine. Nobody cares about my feelings. Nobody really cares about the Denver Broncos offense, but we are going to see them play, except Dalton, apparently. I don't know where that came from, but except Dalton, I guess, cares about the Broncos offense. Hey, they're going to play the Chargers on Monday night, Minty. What do you got in this game here?
All right, I'm going Russell Wilson over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I got it at plus 115. Now, I know Russ has been a little underwhelming since joining Denver, and he's only gone over this total in 1 game this season, but I think things finally pick up for him. The Chargers are allowing the 3rd most passing touchdowns, and they're bottom 10 in total yards allowed. Turning point for Russell Wilson here, he's got to throw at least 2 touchdowns tonight for Monday night. Come on, he's got to make it a little exciting, so I'm going to go over this number.
I mean, he better, or literally everybody in Denver is going to be puking all over their shoes. All right, Minty. Now, if you wanted to come on here and disrespect one of my podcast co-hosts, I would have been fine if you wanted to come on here and disrespect Andy Behrens. That's, whatever. Taking as many shots as you want. But you've got some disrespect to throw a different co-host here of the Yahoo Fantasy Football Forecast. Let's hear it.
I'm sorry. No disrespect here. All right, we're going Austin Eckler under 58.5 rushing yards, minus 120. Now, in the last 2 weeks, Austin has had some great games with over 60-plus rushing yards and 3 combined touchdowns. Hey, doesn't mean he won't get a touchdown tonight, okay? Or Monday night. Typically, Denver's defense is pretty solid, despite allowing only 4.7 yards per carry. In both meetings against the Broncos last season, Austin has gone under this total. So I just got to go with the trend here and go under this total.
Fair enough. He is trending the right way, but the trends might point to an under here. I'm definitely taking the under on any Andy Behrens rushing props you want to give me, despite that guy running all the time. All right, Minty. Locks of the week here. Hit me with your lock of the week.
All right, well, Andy just runs from his problems. It's a different type of running. But yeah, my best bet of the week is going to be the Bills, minus 2.5 over the Chiefs. The Chiefs look great, not denying it. They're going to be home underdogs, which is ridiculous and very tempting to bet on the Bills, too. The Bills are still one of the best teams in the league. They lead the league in yards per play. This defense is first in takeaways and points allowed. This O-line is also very solid. Buffalo has won and covered in 2 of 3 games against the Chiefs, so that's why I'm taking the Bills minus 2.5 up to minus 3 too.
Oh man, it's going to take me a while to recover from that random Minty shade there. Usually such a straight shooter, but I'm going to be saying that one. Right? I'm going to be saying that line an awful lot, Minty. So thank you so much for all your bets, but more importantly, thank you for that one. Oh, wow. You people out there, you new users at BetMGM, you can take advantage of a special offer this Sunday. Bet $10 on any game. Yes, any game, and you can win $200. Sign up today at betmgm.com/YahooVIP.
Oh, I'm catching strays from Minty. Austin Eckler catching strays from Minty. It's going to be awkward in the Yahoo break room, I'll tell you that. Wow, I need to recover from that. But it's Make Your Pick time. This is where we assist a few viewers with their messiest sit-start decisions. So let's see what the people are asking. We'll start with Tyson here. He wants us to pick 2. These are good options. Ramondre Stevenson, Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, Devin Singletary. Tank, I would hope that we can agree that Ramondre Stevenson is a no-doubt start against Cleveland. Which of these other options are you taking?
Yeah, Ramondre is a no-brainer, especially what he did against those Cleveland Browns last year, and we don't have to worry about Damian Harris being in the picture And Gabe Davis, man. Actually, I got Gabe Davis on my lineup. That's why I lobbed that question up to y'all last week. I was feeling like he was getting healthy, and he had that matchup with Pittsburgh. I just wanted my boys to try to see me through, and he exploded. There's no way I'm going to miss out on this potential game script with Kansas City Chiefs. Give me Gabe Davis and Ramondre.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there. I would play Davis. I don't have anything bad to say about Christian Kirk, but Gabe Davis's upside is incredible. We're going to take one here from Mike. Mike is asking, pick 2. It's non-PPR, 15 yards per point, so kind of TD pen. Okay, that's a lot of qualifiers. It's A.J. Dillon, it's George Pickens, Tyler Boyd, Devin Duvernay. That's a fun one. We need to pick 2. For me, even though, I know that A.J. Dillon, it doesn't seem like he's trending in the right direction necessarily, not seeing a ton of targets, not particularly active last week, but he's just 1 week removed from seeing 18 touches. He's still a really good player. I am going to play A.J. Dillon here. Don't care. I think he's got a really good shot at finding the end zone against the Jets. The run is certainly going to be in play all day. And then, for me, it's Pickens or it's Duvernay. Man, Duvernay is really tempting with Rashad Bateman out, but I'm going to go with George Pickens. Hyped him earlier. He's been money these last couple weeks. Do you agree with those? You agree with those calls, Tank?
I mean, honestly, I see why you would go that way. He's saying that it's touchdown dependent. I feel like an easier path to a touchdown. I agree with Dillon. It's hard to kind of go with him because he's been trending downward, but I feel like this could be a bounce back spot potentially against the Jets. I think I like Devin Duvernay a little bit better because there's no Rashad Bateman. And I feel like you look at the New York Giants defense and it looks tough, but you have to also look at who they play, like the Carolina Panthers, the Bears, other teams like that. I feel like this could be a sneaky good matchup right here for Lamar and Duvernay. So I would probably go with him slightly over Pickens, even though I feel like he should be a target monster with Pittsburgh playing from behind against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I can't really argue too much with Duvernay. He's been super fun, and hey, this whole fantasy thing is supposed to be fun. So Duvernay, really strong play this week. All right, we're going to take more of your questions later in the show, but right now, let's send it to Matt for some last-minute sleepers.
Oh yeah, your lineups are in trouble. I'm here to help. Here to help with some desperation-type plays. Mike Boone, I'm going to nominate him here as a guy to take a look at because, look, Melvin Gordon been putting the ball on the ground. We know that. He struggled this year. I don't even think he looked that great necessarily in his starting debut against the Colts last time we saw the Denver Broncos. Mike Boone ran for over 5 yards per carry. He looked like he was shot out of a cannon a couple times. I think this could be a bit more of a split backfield than maybe some of our fantasy rankings are thinking right now. Mike Boone, a guy that has flashed at different points throughout his career. We also have to remember, too, that general manager George Payton actually brought him over from the Minnesota Vikings, so there's a little bit of a connection there. If you're desperate at running back, I do think Mike Boone makes sense because, hey, it's a good thing Brandon Staley's getting a lot of criticism for his 4th down decisions because he's missing some criticism on the fact that his defense still stinks, especially the run defense. Now, if you're desperate at wide receiver, you need a little bit of a flex play. I don't love that Rondale Moore last week kind of went back to that fake receiver, low average, 2.3 air yards per target. What even is that? That's not wide receiver stuff. That's like running back type stuff there, okay? Very, very weird. But if you need to play him in this matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, I totally understand it. High scoring game. Overall, the matchups we like from a fantasy perspective, that Seattle defense, again, to talk about coaching credit here, it's a good thing that Pete Carroll's able to take that victory lap on the Gino Smith thing because his defense also stinks as well. So Rondale Moore, I would advise to play him this week and then maybe try to use him as a trade sweetener with DeAndre Hopkins coming back next week. Now it's time for our final break here on Fantasy Football Live. We got more questions coming, but before we go to break, you got to check out this Eckler's Edge clip here because, look, there's some change going on in the Chargers backfield, and Austin and I both think that Josh Kelly is a guy that needs to be on 100% of fantasy football rosters. Let's hear why.
That's what I've been looking for. I'm looking for that two-back, duo to complement each other. Reminds me of me and Melvin, where he was just that bigger type of body. We go switch it up, and we're one of the best duos in the league at the time when we were popping off together. I want to see this guy go out there and make plays because we got some playmakers out, right? We got, just in our team in total, we got 3 of our Pro Bowlers out, right? With Joey, Keenan, and Rashawn, right? So we need other guys to step up, and especially if we can, do it in the running back room. I'm all for it.
You look at JK out, he's available in literally 98% of Yahoo leagues right now. So, like, good stash there. The guy
for sure.
Yeah, you know, like, he's not just a stash, too, because he's getting, like you said, real burn.
Yeah.
Those are the best type of backs to roster in fantasy that are, you know, quote, backups, but still have some standalone value.
You want your sports news in more than just a few characters? With the help of a bunch of different characters?
You play better than me, I respect the shit out of you.
He beat us, yes. I'm not a ball player. Prince had hops.
Hosted by everyone's favorite character.
Only time will tell if that's a lie or a big-ass lie.
You're Calais Campbell's brother, so Calais got the most sacks that he has is on me.
Give us 2 minutes and we'll give you The Rush. Weekday mornings on Yahoo Sports.
Welcome to Mad Bets, everyone. I am Minty Bets alongside Jared Quay and Pam Maldonado. I'm Ariel Epstein.
We've got a big Sunday night football game.
It's time for some Monday Night Football. Jared, let's kick things off with you. What's your best bet this week?
Oh, I love my bet with 5-star confidence.
Ariel, you can call it a homer pick if you want. It's not.
By the way, that probably will be in Prop Queen coming up on Sunday.
I'm gonna be busting these babies out this weekend.
Woo! You did that with your winning bets, huh? You've been on fire. That's what you're buying with your winnings?
Oh man, I love it.
All right, just moments away from kickoff, and I am mostly recovered from Minty's abuse. So let's get to as many social media questions as we possibly can. We're going to start with Jordan. Jordan asks about 3 kind of icky running backs. It's CEH, Melvin Gordon, or James Robinson for the PPR flex. Harmon, which one are you going with?
Jeez, yeah, I got to consult my own ranks here to remember. Oh, man, I've got CEH and Melvin Gordon 1 spot apart, but I do have CEH ahead of Melvin Gordon. James Robinson, by the way, is like the distant third in this grouping here. Yeah, I'll go with CEH. I know it's a dicey play, but I do think the Bills' defense, you know, those deep cover 2 looks, you know, the 2 high safeties, they'll be begging the Chiefs to run on him. It might be a little more Pacheco and McKinnon than we'd like, but I think I'll take the touchdown odds with CEH in a high-scoring game here over Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, you are at least tying yourself to the one good offense involved in this question. Let's go to P Sharp. P Sharp is asking Romeo Doubs, Devin Duvernay again, or Zay Jones. Tank, which way are you leaning here?
Yeah, this is interesting. It's between Romeo Doubs and Devin Duvernay for me. I think that this game up in Lambeau could be sneaky good between the Jets and the Packers, but I'll probably go with Devin Duvernay. I mean, Lamar Jackson has leaned on him heavily outside of, you know, going to our man Mark Andrews, and I was already talking up about that potential game script there in New York, so I'll lean to Devin Duvernay, even though I feel like Romeo Doubs could be a solid play today as well.
Okay, let's go to another one here. We got Jojo Boz asking, it's a PPR league, and we need to decide between A.J. Dillon, Jerry Judy, or Tyler Boyd. This is going to be the second time that I completely avoid the name Tyler Boyd in a question. For me, this is between A.J. Dillon and Jerry Judy. Don't mind Jerry Judy in PPR. In fact, perhaps even Dalton Del Don would lean toward Jerry Judy because he randomly expects a big game from Russell Wilson. But I'm gonna go A.J. Dillon here. Again, I think this is a nice bounce back week for A.J. Dillon. I don't think he's done. I realized last week was really quiet, but again, the week prior, he was super active. I think he's got a good shot at finding the end zone against the Jets. So for me, this is Dillon. Let's try to take at least one more here. LT is asking Deontay. Oh, it's a Deontay question. I got to send this to Harmon. Deontay Johnson, Taysom Hill, imposter tight end, or Romeo Doubs. Wow, we are throwing Taysom Hill into Deontay Johnson questions. I think I know which way you're leaning, Harmon.
Yeah. How the mighty have fallen here with Deontay Johnson in the Taysom Hill conundrum. Look, I'll probably go with Deontay Johnson here. The volume has been there. He did have a few more drops than you would have liked to see last week. We know that happens. Is there anybody in the NFL that drops easier catches more often but makes like absolutely stupid catches as well more than Deontay Johnson? I think we trust him this week. We go back to the well with Deontay Johnson, even in a difficult spot for rookie Kenny Pickett against the Bucs defense.
Yeah, I feel like MVS is kind of challenging him for that title, but no, you're right. Deontay does drop the bunnies. Let's take another one here. This is Nikki 2 times asking Rondale Moore or Isaiah McKenzie. He's back this week against Kansas City. That's kind of fun. It needs a flex spot here. It's a half-point PPR. Tank, which way you going?
You know, this is a really interesting one. Man, I feel like you just want a piece of that Buffalo KC game action, even though we feel like it's a potential shootout in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, the thing is that there's so many mouths to feed on the Bills offense. Maybe I lean a little bit more towards Rondale Moore, but nah. Give me Isaiah McKenzie. Give me that Bills offense. Let's do it.
Yeah, love it. Love to see us avoiding the fake wide receiver, as Harmon calls Rondale Moore as well. Okay, that is going to do it. That is going to do it for this edition of Fantasy Football Live. Remember to check back in here every Sunday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and keep up with the latest analysis, daily content, our podcast, and, of course, updated player rankings at Yahoo Fantasy. Good luck to all your squads in Week 6, and thank you for watching.